A lot of people have tried to make voting seem cool.
Turn out for what?
They've tried being fun, they've tried being demanding, and they've even tried just being kind of horny.
Dr. King, Malcolm X, freedom of speech is as good as sex.
But here's how that force-fed enthusiasm translates to the real world.
We all know that voting is cool. And we all know that if you don't vote, you don't count. All right on.
There's this common belief that young people are lazy and unengaged.
Fact is, there's a lot of you guys that got that fucking Pokemon searching around, driving around, looking for fucking Pokemon. That shit ain't gonna do shit for you.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
While youth turnout has always been low, the stereotype that young people don't care about politics isn't true. In 2016, 9 in 10 young people said they'd intended to vote. But in reality, only about half of that number filled out a ballot. Of course, there are plenty of things that could be done to improve this.
You know what other countries do in terms of the right to vote all over this world? They say automatically, with all of the technology out there, you are 18 years of age. You are registered to vote. That's it, automatically. What's the problem? What's the problem?
The problem is that many Republicans see voter suppression as politically advantageous.
So much of the Democratic asks are really liberal left wish lists. We don't want to have voting rights and aid to aliens and so forth. That's not our game. And the president can't accept that kind of deal.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he does not support legislation by Democrats to make Election Day a federal holiday.
This is the Democrat plan to restore democracy? A power grab that's smelling more and more like exactly what it is.
One of the important choices voters will make is the Democratic nominee to challenge Mitch McConnell, but Kentucky could be headed for an Election Day disaster.
Everybody's vote should count, and it shouldn't be fair that we're cut off on a certain time when there's people that work still.
In the United States, the reality is that voting is not cool. Cool will be a country that empowered all of its citizens to vote.
Puerto Ricans continue to be treated like second-class citizens. They did not even have the capacity to choose for this president, yet they continue to suffer at the hands of this administration.
Cool will be a system where corporate interests weren't allowed to seep into every aspect of policymaking.
Corporations can spend freely now on political campaigns.
From my perspective and Senator McConnell's perspective, that's a good thing.
Cool will be a country where the candidate who gets the most votes wins the election.
These are human beings that voted, so why does it matter where they live?
We are not a democracy. You are aware of that.
Well,
we are a constitutional republic. Do I need to educate you about that?
By the way, all those people in the back are fake news.
And cool will be a government where unpopular Republican politicians couldn't dismantle basic voter protections just because they know they can't stay in office without disenfranchising young voters and people of color.
Voting rights have become a partisan issue. They did not used to be. Broadly speaking, Democrats are pushing to ease restrictions on voting. Republicans have put new ones in.
No, it's not easing restrictions. What Democrats are trying to do is make sure that everybody in this country has a right to vote when they're 18 years of age. And what Republicans are doing is so un-American, it is so outrageous that it is literally beyond belief. They are political cowards, and if they can't face a free election, they should get another job.
Regardless, if enough young people vote, the odds dramatically shift. That's why we get ads like this.
If you think superheroes like me can fight all your battles for you, think again. Voting for your local, state, and federal representative lets you choose who's on your side in all the issues we face today.
But despite the way voting is portrayed in PSAs,
vote and tell them Spider-Man sent you.
Fundamental change doesn't come from yard signs alone. It comes from picket signs. Think of it like this. President Lyndon Johnson gets credit for signing the Civil Rights Act, and the Voting Rights Act, and the Fair Housing Act. But when he became president, he did not have the record of a civil rights champion, not by a long shot.
In 1948, he ran against the unions, supported big business, and spoke out strongly against civil rights.
His first vote in the House of Representatives in 1937 came against an anti-lynching law. He'd voted against every civil rights bill in Congress from 1937 to 1956. JFK put him on the ticket to win the Southern segregationist vote.
Martin Luther King Jr., in an essay published shortly after he was killed, said that meaningful civil rights legislation wouldn't have come from Kennedy or Johnson without a fight.
Kennedy did not voluntarily submit a civil rights bill, nor did Lyndon Johnson. In fact, both told us at one time that such legislation was impossible.
But thanks to a relentless activist movement, the Civil Rights Act was proposed under JFK and signed under Johnson.
Johnson did not approve of, he did not like. I can even use a stronger term. He hated the demonstrations of the movement in the streets. He hated them.
But he had enough sensitivity that he knew that all hell was going to break loose if we didn't do something about it.
When Johnson took office, King also said that the president told him that a Voting Rights Act was, quote, not the wise and the politically expedient thing to do. But just 3 months later, thanks to the work of John Lewis and others, the narrative shifted and Johnson was forced to meet the moment. The president brought the bill to Congress and echoed the song of the protest movement on national television.
We shall overcome.
So while we do not approve of Biden's record, or even many aspects of his current platform, we must elect him and work tirelessly towards hearing him sing the songs of our movement.
Varshini Prakash, I'm the executive director of Sunrise Movement.
Thousands of UN climate scientists came out saying that we have 12 years to radically transform every part of our economy and society to stop the climate crisis.
And science tells us that how we act or fail to act in the next 12 years will determine the very livability of our planet.
We're with Sunrise and we're fighting for a Green New Deal to stop the climate crisis and to create millions of good jobs in the process.
An opportunity for America to lead the world in clean energy and create millions of new good-paying jobs in the process.
Last week, task forces convened by Biden and Sanders unveiled the results of this collaboration.
We pushed them a lot during the process of the task force. We were able to move up the timeline on decarbonizing the electricity sector by 15 years. So now the Biden administration is committing to 100% clean electricity by 2035. We have a provision to move to 100% new zero-emission buildings by 2030 and a commitment to sit down with labor leaders within months of the inauguration to set standards for zero-emission vehicles.
Make no mistake, it will take persistent work to truly make the most of this moment. But none of that will be possible without stopping Donald Trump's disastrous administration. Crises met with inaction.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
Calls for justice met with violence. And a world literally on fire met with shameless denials of science.
It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually. Tom, please.
The difference between now and the 1960s is that bipartisan national progress is harder than ever, and Republicans have fortified themselves as a party unwilling to adapt and evolve.
McConnell had this to say a few months ago regarding some of the more progressive bills, including the Green New Deal and Medicare for All.
Think of me as the Grim Reaper. None of that stuff is going to pass. None of it.
Republicans are seizing every opportunity they can to maintain power.
He just died?
Yeah.
Wow.
With the election less than 2 months away, McConnell says the Senate will act to fill the vacancy, even though he spent most of 2016 denying a confirmation hearing to Merrick Garland.
I was shocked that former President Obama left so many vacancies and didn't try to fill those positions.
I'll tell you why. I was in charge of of what we did the last 2 years of the Obama administration.
I will give you full credit for that. And by the way, take a bow. All right, that was a good line.
But they are more unpopular than ever. And Trump is clearly scared.
Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens.
We have reached our most defining moment in electoral politics.
I know there are people out there who say, oh, Trump's crazy. He says this, he says that. Don't take him seriously. Take him Seriously.
Don't tell me about a free transition.
He says that he's not sure if he will leave the presidency if he loses the election.
Voting for Joe Biden is not about whether you agree with him. It's a vote to let our democracy live another day.
Our ability to push forward the agendas of our generation will be determined not only by how we vote going into November, but how we mobilize the morning after the election.
We're forced to vote for Biden, but we're not gonna lie about Biden. We're not gonna lie about Harris. I want fundamental change.
When Black Lives Matter started several years ago, we all know how it originally was perceived, that it's this fringe group disrupting society, but that is honestly the true work. The ballot box very often is the thing that moves last in reaction to movement. And a lot of it requires that deep in the trenches work of being in the streets.
Voting out Trump is a stepping stone. It's the one-time choice that allows us to make more meaningful choices down the line, to strike in the millions leading up to and through Inauguration Day, and to build our political power in Washington.
How did Markey pull this off tonight? Ed Markey aligned himself very, very strongly, very, very forcefully with the Green New Deal, with climate change efforts. He got an endorsement from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and the result from that, he is cleaning up in college towns. He is cleaning up in places where there are young voters, and it resulted in this primary in a strong majority.
Breaking news in campaign 2020, Jamal Bowman has been declared the winner over incumbent Congressman Eliot Engel. It's a huge upset for Engel, who has served 16 terms in Congress.
Jamal Bowman ran on a Green New Deal, Medicare for All platform and joined recent protests demanding an end to racism and police brutality.
Now to a stunning political upset out of Missouri overnight. Cori Bush, a progressive activist and veteran of the racial justice protest movement, defeated 10-term incumbent Congressman William Lacey Clay. Clay's father held the seat before him, so Bush just toppled a 52-year political dynasty.
We are not a passive demographic. We are not waiting to be led to the polls by celebrities or politicians, because this is bigger than an election. All across the country, there are millions of us waiting to join you. In these next weeks, join our movement and get to work right away to send Trump and Republicans a simple message: get out of the way. We've got work to do.